we're brothers. We're happy and we're singing and we're colored. Give me a high five.
What is going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro. Today I am joined with my guy Big Game James. As always, it is the best of enemies. So we are going to do a little bit of a deep dive into the NFL. We had fun with our draft talk. We had fun doing the NFC East stuff, but you guys kept asking us to do some NFL talk, go through the NFL. So that's what we're going to do. And we started with the cream of the crop. We started with one of the best. They say save the best for last. We went ahead and got one of the best, to start it off. My guy UCF Jaguar. I'm a big fan of what he does. Excited to hear a little bit about what the Jaguars are going to do. Like we were talking about it before we got on live. I've had him on the channel to do some draft stuff, but never actually got to one-on-one with him. So this is going to be exciting. I'm excited to do this. What's going on, UCF Jaguar? How's it going, brother?
What's going on, fellas? Good to be here. Excited to talk some football. I know right now football news is dry as can be. I mean, I'm getting tired about hearing all the Deshaun Watson updates. I just, I want some real football going on right now.
Yeah, seriously. The fan-controlled football league is kind of funny to watch. I don't know if you guys see any highlights from that, but it is kind of funny to watch. But either way, we're going to get right into this. We're going to hop into this because I know James has a lot of questions. I know I have a lot of questions. I want to start it kind of vague, though. I want to kind of go back before the offseason, before the draft, all that. Kind of take me back to the last day of school for you guys, right? The last game, it's over. You're going into offseason. What was the plan? What was the direction for the Jaguars that you guys wanted to head into going into this offseason?
Oh, man. We had, we were just so thankful that Urban Meyer was out by that point, and it was a really fun way to end the season. I mean, Trevor Lawrence struggled a little bit his rookie year. A lot of that, it's hard to really blame him based on the environment that he was in. Urban Meyer was going to go down as like one of the probably a top 5 worst head coach hire ever. And, he might even go down as like the worst coach ever. I mean, he's down there with like Richie Kotite and the guy, Petrino, or the guy that was with Atlanta for a little bit. I mean, it was just bad. And just every week something new, whether it was, not flying home with the team or, staying in Cincinnati and doing what he did to that woman at that bar, and just all the way to his press conferences, not knowing his own players' names and answering questions wrong, and just terrible body language. And finally he was out of there and ended the season on a high note. And also making it to where all the Colts had to do the last game of the year was beat the worst team in the NFL, and they got smoked on all sides of the ball. The game was not close. The Jaguars outplayed them offensively, defensively. It was just, and the Colts haven't won in Jacksonville since 2014. It's just wild, the stranglehold we have on that team at home. So we're going into the offseason like, okay, what are we going to do a head coach? A lot of us were wanting the Jaguars to fire Trent Baalke. There was a whole clown out. A bunch of people went to that Colts game dressed with clown outfits on. And the main reason wasn't because like Trent Baalke is this bad player acquisition guy. It's a lot of the fact that we were being told that no coach is going to want to work with him, or at least no, good coach. I mean, they started off on fire with some of the interviews. I mean, Doug Pederson, Byron Leftwich were all great interviews. And then it went quiet. And then all of a sudden the Jaguars started interviewing guys like Bill O'Brien and like Rich Bisaccia. And we're like, we are really missing out on a top tier coach because they want to keep this GM. We don't understand it. But then all of a sudden it came out that the Jaguars hired Doug Pederson, and that was the guy I wanted the Jaguars to hire from the start, because the Jaguars need someone to come in here that's done it before, that's been with when it comes to like a front office power struggle. And he was a loser of that. So the Jaguars need to clean up the front office. Ultimately, it was Howie Roseman that was closer to the owner than Doug Pederson. So Doug Pederson was ultimately, kind of the fall guy in that situation. And then, coming from somebody that's been with a kind of sketchy, I guess, front office or culture, and just a guy that's actually won. This guy's a Super Bowl ring. You don't have guys walking around the streets that have Super Bowl rings that are, as young as Doug Pederson are, that are just available out there. And luckily, We also have Trevor Lawrence going into his second year. You bring in a former quarterback. It all makes sense from every angle. And the Jaguars got him. They had a big offseason from the free agency to the draft, and now we roll into the season with what we got. And at the very least, we know that if there's anything that we know for sure, it's that the coaching should be a lot better this year than last year.
Yeah, for real. I'll let you go,
for real.
Jay. I'll let you
Oh
take
well,
it.
I mean, it's funny, this whole situation with Jacksonville. When they hired Urban Meyer, I'm living in Columbus, Ohio. Okay, so I know a lot about Urban Meyer. You know what I mean? I know a lot about him, even though Texas is my favorite team. I keep my eyes on Ohio State, and I know everything about it. I know a lot of things out here. So I'm going to be honest. When the Jacksonville Jaguars hired him, I went on my Twitter immediately. I said he won't make it a year. I bet a good friend of mine, and I said, oh, he was like over or under. I was like, oh, he ain't making it 2 years. I said, he ain't going to make the year. I said, I don't think he's going to finish the whole year, because I know Meyer. He's a quitter. I don't care. I just don't got a lot of love for him. He's a quitter. I seen his style. I know what he does, and I knew he was in over his head. As soon as he signed the dotted line with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I knew he was in over his head. He's a college coach. He is not an NFL coach. He will never be an NFL coach, and they should have never did that. You know what I'm saying? So just to watch that thing unfold was real kind of crazy. And I feel for Jacksonville Jaguars fans, because all that madness you had to go through, hiring a strength coach that had issues at Iowa and things of that nature. That started all off wrong. You get fired for certain things, and we know ethnicity and things like that, and then you come into the NFL with that. Come on, man. We already know that's starting that off train wreck already. And then the way you were abusing his players, and I felt like, honestly, UCF, when he went to that bar, I felt like that was calculated. I felt like he did that to get fired. I felt like he was in over his head, and was the easiest way to say, let's just get rid of him. Boom. That's the way to do it. And I felt like that was a setup plan for him to say, I'm out of here. I cannot do this no more. Let me do this. You can't tell me he didn't know he'd do that. We're in an era of social media where they take pictures of every single thing. You don't think that's not going to be in the headlines tomorrow? You sitting in a bar, you don't think nobody's not going to see you sitting next to a woman, and you're playing off like, yeah, you did that, was calculated. So I'm just saying, I just want to get off my rant. I'm glad you got rid of him. I can't stand Aaron Meyer. I'm sorry. I'm glad y'all got rid of him. And it's just funny how the Eagles had Doug Pederson, and we're on the show right now, and now y'all have Doug Pederson. But I do like that hire, because I liked Doug Pederson. I thought he was a threat to the Cowboys when he was with Dallas. I said, this is going to be a problem coach for a long time. And then when everything unraveled, I ain't going to lie, I was happy as hell when they got rid of him, because I feel like he's a good coach. And I want to see what he's going to do with Trevor Lawrence, and me finish on that, because everybody was saying Trevor Lawrence was that all-world talent. I think he's good, but I need to see a little bit more from my own perspective. And with a guy like Doug Pederson, I like to see that match and see what happens in year 2.
Yeah, I think Doug was the perfect guy for you guys. I really do. I think Doug was, like you said, he's a former quarterback, former backup, former coach, former winner, So yeah, he's a guy, and I love Jacksonville. I really do got a lot of love for Jacksonville. I used to live in Jacksonville for like 6 years. So I got nothing but love for Jacksonville, and I always want to see them do well. So, and I want to see Doug do well, because I do think that he was kind of ousted the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? I really don't like how he did him. But the question I want to ask kind of curtails off of that. You do have Doug, right? You do now have a coach that kind of he likes to take care of his quarterback, right? He likes to groom his quarterback. He pays a lot of detail to his quarterback. What do you expect to see out of Trevor Lawrence, with all that in mind now? What do you think, how big of a jump? Because last year was kind of tough. There's a lot of things that went on around him and everything, but last year was a tough year for him. How big of a jump do you think he can make now with a coach like Doug Pederson?
Oh man, I think he's just going to be leaps and bounds better. And I think one thing that Doug Pederson is going to do a lot better is he's going to be able to just put a better offense around Trevor Lawrence, because I know the Jaguars week 1 against the Texans, we played them. The Jaguars were actually favorites to win that game, and they go in there with this game plan of Trevor Lawrence is going to throw the ball 51 times. James Robinson was going to be out carried by Carlos Hyde. And the very first drive, the Jaguars' first play, there was an illegal procedure. The second play, when it was 1st and 15, they had to call timeout. That is 100% coaching. Yeah. And you are putting your quarterback in a situation where also in training camp, he was splitting reps with starting reps with Gardner Minshew. Like Gardner Minshew was getting half of the reps with the first team offense before it was too late. They said, okay, like by the second preseason game, they announced Trevor Lawrence as a starter. So he went in there just pretty unprepared. And then the Jaguars threw out just a terrible offense. It was boring. It was uncreative. There was just, it was so bad, just the offense that they put out there. And, you know, it didn't look anything like what he was doing at Clemson. And then now when you bring in Doug Pederson, you know, he's a guy that ran a similar offense to the Clemson offense, almost like the NFL version of the Clemson offense. You get Travis Etienne back, you add a bunch of playmakers, and you also, one thing that the Jaguars did, they added a bunch of quarterbacks to the coaching staff. What I mean is the offensive coordinator, Press Taylor, former quarterback, Jim Bob Cooter, passing coordinator, former quarterback, the quarterbacks coach, Mike McCoy, he was a former quarterback. So they're adding a bunch of guys into the coaching staff that's going to be working with Trevor Lawrence that can see the game through his eyes. And, you know, it's hard to have, like, I don't know what to project him at when it comes to like stats, how many yards, touchdowns, like interceptions. But I know that when he goes out there, I feel like he's going to be a lot more comfortable in the offense. He's going to, you know, really just demand, demand the offense better when it comes to being the leader and driving point of the offense. And it feels like a lot of stuff's going to be better. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know stats. I don't even know how many wins it's going to lead to. But at the end of the day, I mean, the most important asset on that team is Trevor Lawrence. So we have to make sure that we are doing him right, because you guys know what happens with quarterbacks and stuff in the NFL, and even players. If a player wants out, they get out. You know what I mean? If you're a good player, I mean, they're going to find a way to get off the team. So we have to make sure that we're doing right to Trevor Lawrence, because if somehow this doesn't work out, I don't know how I can have any more optimism as a Jaguar fan. I'll be honest with you. This offseason was rough. And if we didn't have Trevor Lawrence, like, I would have been like, I don't know what I would have done. Like I said, I don't know how I would have created any optimism for myself, because it would not have been very fun.
Yeah, it's been tough, man. Go ahead.
It's been tough. But you know what? But you know what? I'm like Joe. I'm gonna just keep it real. I've always liked the Jags. I'm gonna just keep it real.
It's hard not to.
Dog, I got a super chat for my dog. Don't pay no attention. He like going hard like this. My dog JJ the mom with a 499 holler. He said, "You telling me we got a Jags fan to make fun of now here? Ooh, we let me out." I see. I don't get mad, because when the Jacksonville Jaguars came in, I love Mark Brunell. You know what I'm saying? The Natron means the dog, the Brackens. I mean, that front line that have Baselli, the tight ends, Jimmy Smith, McCarter, dog, Fred Taylor. You feel me? Like, they had real squads back there. So I always had an eye for the Jackson Jaguars, and I never hated them. And I always wanted them to see them do good, except when they play us. You know what I'm saying? Whenever they play us, except when they play us. I always want them to see them do good. So, you Jacksonville Jaguars, I don't trip on y'all, man.
Yeah, fortunately, against the Cowboys, we don't play very well against y'all. So
we got your number, and I like that.
I mean, it's funny, because whenever I join like another team's podcast, as long as it's on the NFC South, it's like, you know what, I have love for Jacksonville. But Jaguars had to get to that point where people hate them, man. Like, I guarantee you, we have the Chiefs and the Patriots and the AFC completely opposite of y'all. But I bet you guys are like, man, I don't like this team. I don't like what they're doing. It's because they win, man. We got to get to the point where you guys are sitting here and like, man, I hate seeing y'all in the AFC Championship every year, watching y'all take up primetime games. I mean, we're just in that 1 o'clock window, and you're just looking for your fantasy players. We gotta get to a higher point than that. So hopefully it's coming soon.
I respect that. It is true, though. Especially in football, if you're it's so buddy with somebody, you're probably not too afraid of them. But I mean, this year is the year you can change that, right? Doug Pederson, we talked about Doug Pederson. There's a tie in between all three of us, realistically. Doug Pederson knows the Dallas Cowboys. Like he said, he got in, he didn't do amazingly, but I can't tell you his win-loss record against the Cowboys off the top of my head. I'm sure somebody in the comments will pull it up. But, I know he did. He knows the Cowboys. He's played them. He's had to beat them, especially obviously on that Super Bowl run. And then you have Doug Pederson, who knows the Philadelphia organization intimately. You see both of us on the schedule. This is kind of to inflate our own ego, I guess, at this point. But when you see Dallas, when you see the Philadelphia Eagles, is there anything, as a fan of a totally different, conference, everything, is there anything you think like, oh, damn, we have the Cowboys, or damn, we have the Eagles, or is it something you're just like, it's just another game?
I mean, I got to throw a bad stat at you guys, man. The Jaguars have lost 16 straight games against the NFC.
Wow.
The Jaguars have not beat an NFC team since week 1 against the Giants. The last time we played the NFC.
Wow, that's
what
crazy.
Was that, 2018?
That's crazy.
Oh, gosh. So, I mean, we have the Giants number, surprisingly. We beat them 4 years ago. We beat them 8 years ago in Jacksonville. But, man, it's just been a struggle to beat any NFC team. So, I'm in a situation right now where, like, look, until the Jaguars beat an NFC team, I'm not going to pick them to beat an NFC team. Until the Colts win a game in Jacksonville, I'm going to keep picking the Jaguars to beat the Colts. I remember a couple of years ago, I was on a Colts podcast for, like, week 1. We were, like, breaking down the game, and I was like, yeah, the Jaguars suck, because it was a tank year. They got rid of everybody. I was like, yeah, the Jaguars are terrible. They don't have anything. They're like, all right, game predictions. I was like, I predicted the Jaguars to win this one. They're like, what? Like, I was like, just watch. The Jaguars will find a way to win, and they won. So, I mean, I don't know. Until I'm in a football pool, and I pick the Jaguars lose every week in the pool. I don't know, man. I just when I see it, it's tough, especially the Eagles and the Cowboys right now, I think, are probably the two best teams in the NFC East. I think I feel a little bit better about, like, Washington with, Carson Wentz over there. We faced them week 1, so it's kind of a fun back-to-back against Carson Wentz after we kind of ended this Colts career. And then the Giants, we kind of have the Giants numbers, so I don't know. We'll have to I guess we'll have to see, but I'm not particularly like. I think the Eagles matchup is pretty cool, just with the return of Doug Pederson. Doug Pederson is going to be playing inside the stadium that has a statue of him outside of it, which is that I don't know how many times that has ever happened, but that'll be a kind of a cool matchup.
Yeah, I mean, just listening to that, I'm gonna keep it real. We played Jacksonville. I think week 15. You guys play them early. Joe play them, I think, like week 4. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Maybe even earlier.
When we played them 4 years ago, I was actually at that game because we needed that game to get back on that road. And we just got Amari Cooper and things of that nature. I'm saying this: by week 15, we might see a different Jaguars team. And even though I counted it a win on the regular season schedule, I did count it a win, and I'm not going to go away from that. I'm still going to count it as a win. But I want my team to not go in there sleeping. I don't want them sleeping against the Jaguars, because that could be one of them times where they may already be out of it, much like maybe last year. They're hungry about trying to get a win. It's the Cowboys. You already heard he'll say that they ain't beat an NFC team in 100 years. So I don't want that to be the team. I don't want Dallas to be the team. Let's keep that streak alive, at least with Dallas. If you want to do that with Philly, go ahead and get them Jacksonville. Go ahead week 4 and get them Eagles 4 so you can break that streak like that. But when it comes around here, let's go ahead and beat them. But as I said before, there's a couple questions I wanted to ask you, UCF, about these Jaguars, particularly your draft. I thought y'all had a pretty decent draft. Y'all got Trevor Walker. He raised to, a lot of people were thinking Hutchinson was going to be the guy. Walker comes in and be your top pick. You also got a Devin Lloyd, who I know Joe liked Devin Lloyd. You liked Devin Lloyd a lot. Me, I was not so much. But I feel like in this team with the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think that's a perfect spot for him. Kind of tell me about how you feel about this year's draft. And then you had a player on your team, Andre Cisco. Kind of tell me how you feel about those guys in particular.
Yeah, this I mean, it was a weird time to have the number one pick. Unfortunately, there was like no quarterback there, so you couldn't really get a king's ransom. There was also no like Myles Garrett or like any like number one consensus guy there. So the Jaguars, obviously, everybody was saying you got to draft Aiden Hutchinson. That is the safest pick, but the Jaguars did go Trevon Walker. At first, I was like, eh. I mean, really, the Jaguars could have drafted anybody there at number one, and like analysts would give it like a B minus. I mean, it's just that kind of like year. But after seeing Trevon Walker and like OTAs and stuff and like mini camp, they're really showing just, I mean, the size of him. Like the dude has some clubs for arms, man, and he is built to be potentially a really good player. He's built where, his ceiling is higher than Aiden Hutchinson. And, I know this offseason I was in a situation where I was like, look, the Jaguars have just drafted so many busts in the first round. Just get a guy that's safe and will be good. But, with a guy like, Trevon Walker, you're getting a good ceiling guy, which when you're drafting somebody number one, you want them to be the best player in the draft. And Trevon Walker probably has more of the potential to be the best player in the draft than a guy like Aiden Hutchinson. So look, I was going to knock him too much. That's the pick. We just have to kind of see how it plays out. Then the next pick, Devin Lloyd. I mean, I think Devin Lloyd's going to be special, man. Like, I think Devin Lloyd might be better than Trevon Walker, if I'm being honest. I mean, he's a guy that all over the field. He's really smart. He's really passionate about the game. He immediately immersed himself in the Jaguars organization. And, he was at 3 days after getting drafted, he's out there working out at like the local, in a suburb at the local where a bunch of Jaguar like players train at. So that was cool to see. And I don't know, he just seems like a spark plug and seems like he'll really be like the middle or the weak side linebacker of the future. Potentially, no, he'll be more of a middle linebacker. And I'm still getting used to this 3-4 scheme. But he'll be the kind of new spark plug there. So I thought the pick was good. And then we go on because they obviously traded up for him, up 5 spots for him. And then you touched on Andre Cisco. It was weird with Andre Cisco last year because all the Jaguar fans knew like he was the best safety to be in there right now. But the Jaguars would not play him. The Jaguars did not play Andre Cisco until Urban Meyer got fired. And I have this like tinfoil hat thinking that like Urban Meyer and then Trent Baalke really didn't get along very well. And this was almost a way to stick it to Trent Baalke that he's not playing his 3rd round pick because obviously he has like most of the say on that. And I think at the end of the day, like that's why he wasn't playing. And then once we got in there, I mean, he didn't have any interceptions, but he was always finding ways to get his hand on the ball. And he was just all around the ball. And like the guy that was starting over him was some like, undrafted free agents from like Wyoming. And it was just really weird. But Andre Cisco, he'll be the starting free safety for us next year. I have a lot of like high hopes on him. He's just that ball hawk. Obviously, when he was at Syracuse, he was, he had a bunch of interceptions out there. So, I mean, I think Andre Cisco is going to be a good player going forward, and it's going to be a new look Jaguars, man. I mean, they broke an NFL record on guaranteed money handed out and free agency, and with the draft, they're going to have like over 50% of their starting lineup is going to be new. So it's hard to really know what to expect this upcoming season from the Jaguars. I mean, the ceiling could be high, but if these guys bust, man, it could be back to the same old Jaguars going forward.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. You did bring up the record breaking contracts that you guys put out. I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that. I mean, especially the wide receiver contract. You guys broke. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams probably upset with you right now. Luckily, the Eagles, kind of finagled their contract situation.
You're welcome for AJ Brown.
Yeah, I was about to say that we kind of made out on that, but you guys definitely got some teams upset. Like what as a fan, you know what I'm saying, and then kind of take me into the mind of what you maybe think the organization is thinking. But you personally, how did you feel when you saw that contract?
Bro, spend that money, man. Like, I don't want to get good, man. I'm tired of being patient. You guys know how it works with this salary cap stuff. I mean, like Rams are still signing all. I don't know how they do it. I mean, there's ways to get around it. And I mean, I just want to get better. I want to spend money. I mean, the Christian Kirk thing, everybody threw a fuss about it when it happened. But now he's like, I don't even think he's like a top 10 paid wide receiver anymore after all these like deals have been given out. So, I don't know. I mean, I like I like bringing in new guys. I mean, we obviously got Brandon Scherff from Washington. You're bringing like Christian Kirk, guys like Evan Ingram, and we brought in like a whole lot of players just to make us better. And we have Trevor Lawrence on a rookie contract. I mean, that's when you want to spend this kind of money, when you have a quarterback on a rookie contract, before you have to break the bank with them, when you can, give all the, and a lot of the deals are structured where it's front loaded, where in years 1 and 2, they're giving out most of the money. Then, year 3 comes, you can cut them with, goods with, not a lot of losses and whatever. So, I mean, the Jaguars, I mean, I'm all Shad Khan. He's willing to spend money. I'm all about it. I mean, go out there and make your team better. So I was pretty excited. Obviously, I was hoping maybe we'd get lucky and, guys like Devontae Adams might have fallen through, or, even like Mike Williams. But, I think Christian Kirk, for what he is, give him a slot, get him a, the good amount of receptions, and, just make what you can out of it right now. I do think at the end of the year, Jaguars are going to need to find that alpha number 1 wide receiver out there in a draft. But hey, like, when you're the worst team in football, worst record, you can't fix everything in one offseason. So I can't sit here and get mad at them. But, it feels like the Jaguars got a lot of better pieces to just be an overall better team in 2022.
Yeah, I would say that. And, like I said, I really like the Lloyd pick for you guys. I didn't want a Devin Lloyd for Dallas. I don't feel like he would have made that fit, and I was telling Joe that I thought he would be a better fit even with the Eagles. And that's why I wasn't high on him, because of the fit. Him coming to Jacksonville, I think it's a perfect fit. And I agree with you in the fact that he's going to embrace it, because I feel like they're going to try to let him be the man there. I feel like they're going to try to give him, hey, we want you to be that linebacker of the future here. We want to put that name in you, how you have Darius Leonard with the Colts. You know what I'm saying? We want to put you in that level. And I think it'd be good for him. And I feel like he can handle it in that atmosphere because of Jacksonville. I will say this, and I listened to some of my peoples in the chat about your owner, Khan. He will spend money. And that's what I like about him. We don't have that in Dallas. See, we had our owner, Jerry Jones, who was like that, but his son neutered him. Stephen Baby Nuts Jones neutered him. And he's cap guy. He's save the money guy. He don't want to spend the money guy. So I respect your owner that, number one, he saw this Urban Meyer thing is a train wreck. I got to get rid of you. You come back with a good coach, and then you go out there and say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. I'll spend money because I want my fans in here. I want the fans loving this team. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it right what I made the mistake with Urban Meyer. I respect that about an owner, and he's still going out there trying to put money in players, get the right coaches, and do the right thing in Jacksonville. And I can respect an owner like that, because we don't have that type of stuff going on in Dallas, even with all our talent.
Yeah, it's nice that he spent some money, because I mean, and the nicest thing is, like, obviously the Jaguars, a lot of people have been saying, oh, they're moving to London, oh, they're gonna move to LA, whatever it is. But I mean, this guy has committed so much money just to, like, the city of Jacksonville, and improving the things around, like the stadium and stuff. Like, he built a practice facility, with his own money, and it's a big type of thing and he's also, like, building hotels on the river in Jacksonville. I mean, if you do any research on what's going on, I mean, it's clear the Jaguars are here to stay. So I think that's the main thing. Like, he hasn't been the best. He's been terrible on the football side of things when it comes to, like, when he hires people, because obviously Gus Bradley was not a good decision. Later on, like, the Doug Marrone, Tom Coughlin thing just flat out did not work. And then the Urban Meyer thing was just terrible. I mean, that was his 10th year as owner, and he goes out and signs a complete con artist. I mean, that's what Urban Meyer was. Urban Meyer probably told him a lot of things that he could do, and at the end of the day, he's just a big fat liar. He's a hypocrite. He's a con artist, is what Urban Meyer is. At the end of the day, he straight up lied to a billionaire's face, and he got fired. And he was all talk, no game. And I think a lot of Urban Meyer's I think it kind of tainted his college career in a way when you look at it, because I think he just hired a bunch of good coaches in college. I mean, and at Florida he had Dan Mullen, and he had some good defense coordinators. And over in Ohio State he had, like, Ryan Day, and
he had talent.
I think, yeah, and he had talent. I think he was carried by a lot of that. And at the end of the day, I don't think he was a good coach, and I don't think he's a good person either. I mean, just the way he treats people, you can't treat a 30-year-old millionaire like you can an 18-year-old, kid who at that time, they don't have much of a social media presence. They're kind of neutered. So, Shad Khan now, it looks like, Doug Pederson finally feels like we have a good coach. He spends the money. We just got to hope the team's in a good place with the GM and a head coach where Shad Khan can just sit back and kind of let them do their work. But, it hasn't worked out that way so far.
Yeah, I like Shad Khan. Like you said, he's been kind of part of the culture. I do like what he's done out there. And Jacksonville Jaguar games, for this isn't a shot, but for how bad they've been over it's still a fun time. Like, going to the games is still a pretty damn good time. But I do want to ask this because, look, at the end of the day, the Eagles, we talk about all these storylines that we have and all these connections that we have. One thing that I know that the chat is asking a lot right now for me to say is AJ Brown. You got to see a lot of AJ Brown up close and personal, twice a year. What can the Eagles expect? What can the Cowboys expect? Maybe even better to say, are we getting in an AJ Brown?
Unfortunately, with any player that was on the Titans just bent us over and spanked us over the years, man. Whether it's like Derrick Henry or Jonnu Smith did a lot of good things for the Titans against the Jaguars back in the day. Ryan Tannehill is like an MVP candidate against us. And AJ Brown was a beast, man. A lot of times I just try to kind of forget the Titans games out of my brain, but I remember, he had some really good plays against the Jaguars, and he's just a really good player in general, and the Titans didn't want to pay him what he felt like he deserved. So they traded him, and they basically brought in a play. I don't know if you guys have been following this Treylon Burks stuff, but he can't even get through a practice right now. I don't know what the heck's going on with that.
I'm so glad we didn't get him.
Yeah.
Dallas was enamored with him, and I liked him. I liked the talent, but there was something too. Kind of after later on, you were kind of feeling this kind of way, and then to see that happen in, like I said, mini camp and things of that nature, it's kind of crazy. But you know what? We'll see. I know what y'all. He's seen AJ Brown 2 times a year. So what? You keep on talking about
now
AJ
you gonna
Brown.
get to see him.
Yeah. You keep on talking about that AJ Brown thing. We're gonna see, okay? We're gonna see, because that division over there just now started getting good again, because it was really terrible for a while. That division was terrible for a long time. So it's just now coming up. So let's back off of that a little bit. But I will say this: people forget, it wasn't too long ago Jacksonville Jaguars was in the championship.
Yeah.
When they had Jalen Ramsey and Blake Bortles, and I tell me, oh, you shaking your head? Why? What? You had Blake Bortles. I ain't believing no Blake Bortles, but hey, y'all was there though.
Yeah.
I know we were there, man. It's just so sad.
Y'all was there before us. Y'all were there before us. Do you understand that though?
Yeah.
Do you understand that y'all have made a championship game before the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah. It's
a lot of teams have.
It's just,
you feel me?
It's just crazy looking back on that, man. Like, if you look at the Jaguars records in the past, I think 12, 13 years, every single year is a double-digit loss season, except for that 2017 season where we randomly went to the AFC Championship game. I think what it does, it just proves it proves 2 things. One, you need a quarterback. You can't consistently win and go to the deep into the playoffs if you don't have a quarterback. Another thing it proves is that you need to sustain a culture. And also, I think, a lot of people, there's this debate, what comes first, culture or winning? But guess what? Culture comes first, because the Jaguars, they won. They went deep that year, but it turns out that the culture was not very good. And it didn't hold up. It only lasted 1 year. And, the Jaguars haven't sniffed anything close to that, since 2017. They've just been pretty much out right at the beginning of the year. But, man, it was fun times. I remember it was actually my first year on YouTube doing that, and it was just, I couldn't believe what was happening. And I'm still a big Blake Bortles fan. I went to UCF. He was drafted by the Jags my sophomore year of college, so that was really cool. But man, it's hopefully we can recreate some of that, because as Joe knows, man, there's nothing like man, a deep playoff run. Like, I mean, I can't imagine being in this. I mean, we would have had a Super Bowl matchup had the Jaguars been able to. I mean, we had a 10-point lead against the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. Man, I can't even imagine what winning a Super Bowl is like, what that feeling is like. And all I want in my lifetime is one Super Bowl. I'm 28 years old. I hopefully have at least 60 more years on this planet, man. Just please give me a Super Bowl, because I can't imagine what that feeling was like, because just being able to win in the regular season, going to the playoffs and sitting here and being like, man, there's 4 teams left. There's 28 teams that are not like alive right now, and I'm a fan of one of those teams. It was just an unreal feeling. So I'm hoping Doug Pederson can bring that back.
It's different. It really does hit different. When I will say this: the Eagles Super Bowl felt better because we had to wait. But if I had to, trade it all in and just be born into a legacy of Super Bowls, maybe I would, but it did feel good. It did feel good knowing that you waited that long. You were that, just patient, even when you didn't want to be, you know what I'm saying? But it does feel good. James might not be able to tell you what that feels like for like the past 30 years, but, I'm sure he enjoyed it too when it happened for him back all the way
back. Back in my 20s, bro. Like, that's crazy. Let's really think about this right now.
Jaguars weren't even a team, were they? Were they a team when you?
I mean, our first year was 95.
Started their first year of 95. That's when last Super Bowl. That was their first year. Do we understand that? And 95, I was like 22, 23.
Yeah.
I'm almost 50 now. And we ain't
time
seen
goes by fast.
Wow.
I ain't seen that hurt.
Are you listening to this, Jerry? Are you listening to this? I know how I get on these daggone Eagles. I ain't worried about y'all, but this is just a message to y'all. Do you just hear what I said? I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
You probably thought life was good back then. We'll do this all
great.
the time.
Life was grand back then. You feel me? Can you bring it back? Like, I'm like UCF. Like, can I see one more before I die?
Yeah,
please.
The craziest thing I will say is that the last time prior to 2017 that the Eagles made the Super Bowl, it was in Jacksonville. So it would have been kind of cool to play Jacksonville.
No Super Bowl this year.
Oh, we're gonna do it again this year. We're going back to the Super Bowl this year. I can't wait. Maybe we'll see Jacksonville there. Maybe it'll be a nice little reunion.
To the Super Bowl.
Well, as a Jaguar fan, you guys should just appreciate being alive in November and December. The way the Jaguar season have gone. And September we go 0-4, 1-3. Then in October our season is on life support, and then by November we're done. You know what I mean? Like it sucks watching these games in December and having this discussion in your brain. Do I want to win a meaningless game against the Jets, or do I want to lose to get a better draft position? I mean, that's the position we're in like every year, and it sucks. So just at least appreciate being relevant and being alive and in that playoff graphic. Even if you're in the hunt, you're in it. The Jaguars are like, all right, well, now the Jaguars are, 1-11. They're officially mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. It's just, it's not fun.
Yeah, I can only. So let me ask you this: what is Doug's job, right? Like, I mean, a lot of times people come in and they're like, all right, we got this guy, he needs to start winning. But it sounds like more so that he has to just come in, get the ship floating again, kind of just get the culture back. I think is probably the best way of putting it. But what do you think, in your opinion, if by the end of this year, right, we're back here in this position, we talk about Doug, what does he have to do for you to be like, I think this was a successful year for him?
I mean, first of all, he has to just make us look like a football team. I mean, last year, it was just, man, there was just some really bad losses. We got schooled like a bunch of different times. And, I mean, I think he comes in here and just makes sure that he's just stabilizing the team when it comes to just earning trust from the players, making sure that, he's building that culture right. I think Trevor Lawrence is a main priority. Make sure Trevor Lawrence is progressing the way he needs to progress. Because obviously last year Trevor Lawrence started off really strong. And then he kind of took a little bit of a dive because, I mean, the team just wasn't set up very well. I mean, the culture and the team around him, it just wasn't set up well. I mean, he was he was having to answer for questions from Urban Meyer, like, why is this happening? Why is that happening? And it was a really tough position to put a 21-year-old dude in, where he's answering for all the downfalls of the franchise this year. So that's the main thing. Gotta groom Trevor Lawrence. Got to make sure he's progressing in that way, and I guess just get better all over. I mean, the Jaguars, they were the worst team in football the last 2 years. So you have to go up. I told myself last year, well, it can't be worse in 2020. Well, it may not be able to get worse, but it can stay the same. I mean, the Jaguars, they had to progress. They had to start beating some teams in the AFC South. I mean, we're going like 1-5 every year against our own division. And if you want to be a winning team, if you want to be a good team, you have to beat your division opponents. And that comes first. The Jaguars, I mean, it's a tough AFC, but it's not a very tough AFC South right now. So you had to find a way to, beat your division opponents. The Jaguars haven't beaten the Texans since 2017. I'm not talking about the Chiefs or the I'm talking about the freaking Texans, who have been like ass since the last like 5 years. I mean, we just can't beat them. So find ways to beat them. I mean, just move forward, man. Just get the team better. We're not demanding playoffs, but I know a lot of people, it's like, okay, 6-11 would be good. I mean, bare minimum for me to be happy, I need at least 7 wins, because I honestly think the Jaguars team last year, if he had you could keep the whole entire roster the same. The whole entire roster the same. If you had Doug Pederson in place, and if you had Trevor Lawrence in his second year, I think you double your win total. I really do. So it's all about, I mean, I'm not demanding playoffs, but I need at least 7 wins, I think, because the rebuilds, I mean, they don't take that long anymore. I mean, we saw the Bengals turn it around pretty quick. And you see teams do that kind of a lot. So if Trevor Lawrence is who we think he is, the Jaguars could potentially surprise some people. It's just all about, what does the supporting cast look like? Are they hitting the contracts they earned in free agency? I mean, there's a lot of question marks, and I just kind of want to see how it plays out.
I hear that.
Yeah, well, I wanted to get at, I was saying, even in my chat, I think 6 wins. You said 7. I understand where you will come for 7. I was saying I think they would be better and get 6. But I put in the chat, and I want to ask you and Joe this, because when we did our QB rankings, I had Trevor Lawrence below the Zach Wilsons of the world, the Trey Lance of the world. Yeah, pull that up. And this is what I want to ask you, your opinion and Joe's. Do you think Trevor Lawrence, because when he was coming out of Clemson, they were saying like he was like the generational talent. He was like the next generational talent. Obviously, you had Urban Meyer. I get that. But do you think he's that generational talent, UCF and Joe?
I mean, I think he is. I mean, when you look at his traits just from, his prototypical size, I mean, he's a big dude. When it comes to him being able to make all the different throws, from all that, I mean, he's there. It's just all about what's in between the ears. And look, right now, if you're to do the rankings, I mean, it's fair to put him there. I mean, you have to, I'm all about proving it on the field where you should be. But, I think a lot of people, like, if they were to get the choice of, whether they want Trey Lance or Zach Wilson or any of these guys on their team, I think most of them are going to take Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I can, but if they were to rank them based on where they are right now, those guys might be above them. It's just, and that's where I'm at. Like, look, I don't care. Like, because a lot of people will tag me and stuff. Oh my God, you see this guy ranked Trevor Lawrence here. You see, and it's like, look, last year he didn't put on tape that he should have been there yet, but it's all about proving on the field. Luckily, he gets the opportunity to do that. We'll see where he is 1-2 years down the line, but yeah, I mean, for now, just prove it on the field. And last year he didn't. Whether it be, you can blame all the different circumstances. I mean, a lot of time, I really do blame Urban Meyer for a lot of what Trevor Lawrence did, and I also they didn't have any receiving core. I mean, DJ Chark got hurt early on, so he was throwing to old man Marvin Jones. He was throwing to like Laviska Shenault, who had a terrible year. Like Laquan Treadwell was like one of our leading receivers. We had no tight ends. It was really, really bad. They surrounded him like terribly. So from now, I mean, they went and got Christian Kirk, like Evan Ingram, like Zay Jones. I still don't think the wide receiver core is where it needs to be, but luckily we're getting ETN back, who I think will be really good in Doug Peterson's system. So yeah, I mean, proven on the field. That's all I got to say about that, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree
What about you,
100%,
Joe?
to be honest. Yeah, I agree 100%. I think if you look at just the arm talent, the production that he had in college, if we're going into college again this year, or if we're going into the draft this year again, I think he would still be a number one guy. I think he just had that type of career. He has that type of, just everything. He has the full package. But you look at that team, it was just too much going on. Just look at the coach by himself. You take away the lack of talent, you take away all that stuff, just the sideshow of what that coach was. I think that took a lot away from him. He wasn't really able to develop over that year. I didn't really see anybody sitting there trying to teach him to fully utilize what he came into the league with. So I don't think that where I ranked him right now is where he's going to be ranked, say, next year or even halfway through the season. I think that we're going to see a big improvement from who he is. We saw this with the Eagles, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny that there's so many connections because the Eagles did the same thing. We obviously had Press Taylor. We had, Doug Peterson. We had other quarterback coaches and we even got a backup for Carson Wentz that was way overpaid, but he was just basically another coach for Carson Wentz. So it's kind of funny hearing that he's doing the same thing for Trevor Lawrence. I think it'll pay huge dividends. But look, Sam Bradford had all those qualities. He was a great quarterback coming out of the draft. It's about what happens in the NFL. So as long as Trevor Lawrence goes out there and improves, which I think he will, he should skyrocket up that list. But right now it is what it is because he is what he is. It is really no nice way of saying it. I think he's great, but he just hasn't proven it yet. So that's really all you can ask for. I mean, we'll see what happens though. I like the kid though. I really do like the kid. I think he's going to be better than Dak pretty soon, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. But I mean, it is what it is.
He's gonna be better than Jalen Hurts too. So don't even do that.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. He's definitely gonna be better than Jalen Hurts. He's gonna be better than Jalen Hurts. Okay.
UCF, I'm not even getting in on this one.
I'm a little bit jealous of Jalen Hurts' receiving core right now. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's nice to see us putting stuff together. I will say we were at 48 minutes.
On paper.
It's going to look beautiful in on Sunday as well. Trust me. But we're at 48 minutes. We got about 60 people in the chats. Be sure to hit the like, hit the subscribe, join the family. Whatever channel you're on, definitely go check out my guy UCF Jaguar. Does amazing content. He's doing some different type stuff as well. I saw the one that you did about the running back Carlos Hyde. I think it was that you did the weirdest Jaguars career or whatever that you did. It was pretty hilarious. I loved it. So love what he's doing over on the channel. But I want to ask this question, right? The Jaguars going into this season don't have many expectations, but what if you guys go out there and everything just kind of clicks and you guys are able to get into the playoffs and this is a very good core? What then? What additions do you think happens then? Do you think Shad goes out there and tries to get himself, a crazy addition at a certain position? Where do you see any? I guess if things go all right, where would you still want to see upgrade? I guess is the question.
I don't know. I mean, when Shad Khan, after 2017, he gave everybody an extension. I mean, he gave Doug Marrone an extension, Tom Coughlin, the GM, an extension. They instead of Blake Bortles playing on his 5th-year option, they upped his contract to where he got a new 3-year deal. I mean, he was throwing money everywhere, man. Everybody was getting bonuses. But I mean, I think at that point, man, I mean, the Jaguar, I mean, if they were able to make the playoffs, I mean, first of all, I think it's probably an indictment on the AFC South because I mean, AFC South is sketchy right now, man, because I mean, as long as the Titans have had really good teams, but with Ryan Tannehill, this dude could play like an MVP caliber season. But if he loses the first game of the playoffs, they're going to be done with him, man, because that's the thing. It's proven that Tannehill can get this team into the playoffs, but once he gets in the playoffs and you need great quarterback play, he just doesn't do that. And then Indianapolis, they had a great roster last year. I mean, they had more Pro Bowlers than any other team had, but they were held back by the quarterback. I mean, I think they're going into 4 or 5 straight years of a different starting quarterback week 1. And what are they getting out of Matt Ryan? I mean, I don't know. It's a weird AFC South right now. I mean, the Jaguars, I mean, it's not impossible for them to win the AFC South, especially if their additions are able, because the Jaguars, one reason why they went to the AFC Championship in 2017 was because they like nailed every single draft pick and free agent signing. I mean, they nailed like Jalen Ramsey, Myles Jack, and Eaton Ngakwe. Then in the free agency,
Right.
Calais Campbell, like AJ Boye, Malik Jackson. I mean, all these guys played unreal. And if they can repeat that type of thing, I mean, that could very easily happen, because the AFC South back then wasn't very good. I mean, they beat, they were beating up on like Jacoby Brissett and like Tom Savage and guys like this, TJ Yates. So, it could happen. I mean, like I said, like if these additions do work out good, but also a Trevor Lawrence does make that leap. So I think you go there, you take a seat back and say, okay, what were some of our deficiencies? And I think that's all about this year, is saying, okay, maybe the wide receiver room wasn't very good. Maybe interior offensive line, we need to upgrade that. I mean, I think it's all about, obviously right now they unloaded on additions. So then you have to sit back and kind of see how that plays out. And then you go out and, figure everything out. But man, it'd be an unbelievable spot if the Jaguars were somehow able to do that, because then all you can go is up, man, because they have no expiring contracts. They have all their draft picks coming up. We're not sitting on like no first round pick next year or anything. So really the only way to go is up.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. Now, I can definitely honestly say that it will be contingent on Trevor Lawrence taking that next step in year 2. You got some parts. I think the offensive line is still a little leaky. We'll see what happens like that. I agree with you. What you talk about your receiving core, it's better, but it's not top of the line. But it helps Trevor Lawrence get better. I think that the calling card could probably maybe be your defense, because you got a lot of athletic guys over there. It could be flying around the ball type thing. But I think the best thing that bodes well for the Jacksonville Jaguars this year is, like you just said, the division isn't that strong. So I feel like it's up for the taking. I don't see where Tennessee is just like the upper echelon team, especially with some of the additions and subtractions that they had. The fire is on the coach over there as well. Indianapolis, they just lost Eberflus. He went over there, defensive coordinator. He was with Dallas. I love him. He's over in Chicago. Matt Ryan ain't doing nothing for you, so I don't feel like they're coach. They have talent, but Matt Ryan ain't doing nothing for you. So I just feel like if Jacksonville really gets it together, I still go back to saying coaching matters. And I feel like if Pederson can really get a hold of that team and put his kind of stamp on it, kind of like he did with the Eagles, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars could surprise people, and they could surprise the division. Not maybe this year, but maybe the next couple of years, you guys could be back from being worst to first. I think it could happen if that Pederson to Lawrence thing pans out. I think that's the key with you guys. If that Pederson-Lawrence connection really works, I think everything else will kind of come together for the Jaguars, in my opinion.
Yeah. And that's what we're hoping for, man. I mean, you nailed it too. Like Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if Trevor Lawrence can be the real deal, if he can turn into a top 10 quarterback, I mean, that changes your organization, man. I mean, it just changes the direction. And man, it's hard for me to even think about that happening, because it's never really happened in my lifetime. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm 28 years old, and when the Jaguars were in the 90s, like when they went to the AFC Championship game in '99, I was like 5 years old. I don't remember that stuff. And it's been a long period of losing. So I just want success. I want to sustain success. You even look at a team like the Ravens, like they've won like basically one Super Bowl in my lifetime, but they're always good. They're always making it into the playoffs. Just having that fun, exciting seasons. It's it's something that really I'll never take for granted. And honestly, going through all this losing is going to make to the point where once the Jaguars are winning, it's going to make it so much better. And if the Jaguars win a Super Bowl, there's going to be a bunch of people jumping on the bandwagon, and a bunch of people get mad about bandwagoners. But at the end of the day, man, like if your team wins the Super Bowl, you're going to have so much more, like you're going to feel so much better about it than somebody who just jumped on it at the end of the year. And that's something that's something that they can't take from you. I mean, that awesome feeling is something that look, they may try to replicate, but they're not going to feel it as much as you do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be fun for you guys because I know Doug Peterson. One thing he's gonna bring to you guys is that team atmosphere, that team, feel, that family feel, and he's gonna bring Haagen-Dazs ice cream. Eagles fans all know that, so it's gonna be a good time either way. It'll be interesting to see what he does with them. I'm rooting for you guys. Obviously not when we play, but I hope you guys do well because I do. I love Jacksonville. I have nothing but love.
I have
I live
nothing but
in
love
Tampa
too.
now. I live in Tampa, and just as a city, not even just the actual team. Like Jacksonville to me is one of the most underrated cities, like anywhere. I've lived in a lot of different cities. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. So I hope you guys do well because it does suck. It does suck when you're kind of trapped in that purgatory, for lack of better words, where you just don't know, like, how do we get out of this? Like, are we going to get out of this? But I do think you guys made some really good moves this year. So last question I want to ask you, we're probably going to stick to your division. So we're probably going to go next to one of your division opponents, maybe the Colts or something. I'm not really sure. What do you want to tell them? What should they be ready for the Jaguars? How, I'm gonna say that you said that, you know what I'm saying? But like how if you had somebody in front of you right now and they were telling you, what should I be ready for the Jaguars? What are you telling your division opponents to get ready for?
Have fun with your quarterbacks. I mean, on the real though, I'll just say keep sleeping on us. I mean, I know I'm not out there really talking a lot of trash right now because it's gonna take the Jaguars to actually, like I said, I should be sitting here hyping up Trevor Lawrence, being like, why do you have him so low? But it's like, look, at the end of the day, like if you're down about the Jaguars, if your expectations for the Jaguars over the past years have been bad, then you've been right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So until that's where I am with the Jaguars. I'm like, look, I am kind of an expect the worst, hope for the best type of thing. I'm not going to like over project these guys. Like people are talking about, oh, Christian Kirk, 1,000-yard season. He's never had a 1,000-yard season in his career. So how am I going to do that? Like, there's people
like
saying
him.
like, yeah, I mean, there's people like, oh, ETN is gonna be this, 1,800-yard all-purpose guy, but I'm like, he hasn't even played an NFL snap yet. This team's going to have to prove to me, that they're going to be good, and so I mean, I want everybody to be sleeping on the Jaguars, and they can go out there and last year the Jaguars were 3-14, but the Jaguars, their 3 wins didn't come against trash teams. They beat the Dolphins, who were about average. They knocked the Colts out of playoffs, and they beat the Bills. You know what I mean? And that's what happens when teams kind of sleep on you. So I'm hoping that continue to happen. I'm hoping that we continue to work in silence, which our case of silence is 1 o'clock every Sunday because we don't get primetime games. But that's kind of my position when it comes to I guess this upcoming season for the Jaguars.
I respect it. James, you
I
got any
like
questions
that.
you want to?
Oh, I mean, I just like the answers. I like the realness.
Yeah.
That's what I appreciate more than anything. Everything you said on here is just the realness, not going out it. Hey, look, well, this is what we've been doing for a while. I'm not going to jump out there and say we're going to do this and do that. We got to prove it on the field. It's just like with my Cowboys. I'm not everybody's like, oh, well, we're going to be better. People saying we're going to be better, and I'm like, I don't know how. You know what I mean? And people want to get mad at me, but I don't know how. You lost things of university before and you haven't went above, and then now you lost, you have some more subtraction than additions. Now all of a sudden you're going to do something great in the air. I'm sorry, I'm not going to jump on that train. It hasn't happened in over 30 years, so why should I jump on that train now? Like all of a sudden we're going to go to Super Bowl now. Hey, after this, you had an opportunity last year, so I appreciate that realness, and I would agree with you and what you're saying as far as let's prove it on the field. But I will definitely say, I think you Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be sneaky in that division. I really, really do. And I think that Pederson hire, to me, was a great hire. And I think that is what I'm going to be staring at. And I think he's going to get you guys back together in a few years. I really believe it. So just listen to this podcast. Listen to this show, all y'all. I said it along with UCF. I said a couple years, they're going to be good again with Doug Pederson. I said it. You heard it here first. They will be good again within 2 years.
I'm hoping so, man. I hope we can just speak it into existence. And
I'm speaking it for y'all. It's not against Dallas.
I mean, you can't see it, but I may not have physical bruise and scars, but I have emotional ones. That's for sure. under the skin is a whole lot of wear and tear, man. I'm a 70-year-old angry man at a deli right now about the team.
I feel you, man. I feel it's tough, man. Wait, take yourself down to if you live in Jacksonville, go take yourself down to Ponte Vedra. You know, go hit some sticks, go golf, get your mind off of football a little bit. You know, relax a little bit. And I did throw a tweet out at you about the Eagles game. I know you said you're not going to go down to Philly. I live in Tampa, so if you want to come on down here, I do the game live from a bar down here. So more than welcome to come hang out, you know, kick it or whatever and watch the game. But I just want to thank you again. We have worked technically before together, but this is our first time getting to meet and actually talk. So I do appreciate you taking the time to come on here and just kind of break down the Jaguars a little bit for us. You know, I'm sure everybody had a really good time. Is there anything you want to tell the people before you do get out of here? Tell them where they can find you and just who you are before we do get out of here.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you guys want to find me, I'm UCF Jaguar on YouTube, also at UCF_Jaguar on both Twitter and Instagram. I'm relatively active on there. Just hoping to just get through this dead period, because right now it's you know, the NFL schedule, they do a really good job of, you know, always keeping the conversations going and, you know, keeping everything active. But man, when you get into this, you know, late June, early July period, it gets pretty dead. But it's you know, we can sit here and do projections. Obviously, as you guys probably see from this, I don't really like projections that much. I just want to kind of throw it out on the field, see how it is. That's why I'm kind of trying to come up with different you know, video projections instead of you know, just trying to overhype the team. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to what this season has to bring. And every football season is just a joy, man. It's fun getting up on Sunday and sending your fantasy lineup and, you know, figuring out, you know, what the injury report for your team is and all that stuff. So it's exciting. And it's coming up pretty quickly, man. We're 2 months away from the start of the regular season, and I think the Jaguars they play in a Hall of Fame game. So the first preseason game is August 4th. So that's like a month and 2 days away. So it's coming at us quick for sure.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. That's crazy.
Crazy.
That just made me happy. That just made me happy. I just looked at my calendar like, hey, that's right on the corner.
Nothing proves you're a degenerate football fan like watching the Hall of Fame game. A bunch of backups from a couple teams you don't give a crap about
at all. But hey, at least we got the Jaguars, so now we'll be a little bit more informed about the guys we're watching and what we're watching. So we thank you for that. James, is there anything you want to say before we get out of here to these beautiful people?
No, just I appreciate everybody that was in the chat. Shout out to everybody. We love continue to support this like you do. Once again, we appreciate UCF Jaguar jumping on here, man. I really love how we're doing this. You know, we always talk our Cowboys, you know, Philly rivalry, how we have it, and even the NFC East. But I love how Joe is doing this, where we can really touch all the content creators that Cowboys and the Eagles play. So we can basically just kind of pick your mind, see where your head's at, see where your team's head's at. And this will actually, just listening to you and going over this will have me looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars a little bit different, in depth. Yeah. And I really like this because it just opens my mind up more to see more about other teams. So I just really love how we're doing this, and this is all due to Joe. So everybody in the chat from you know, UCF, from Ein, y'all really need to give Joe a lot of props out here, man, because he's doing things that ain't nobody doing, man. So I just want y'all to really support his channel and us like no other, man, because he's done this and he's made this thing great.
I appreciate that. That's love. That's love. And we did. So yeah, we are about to get out of here. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Shout out to everybody that gave the super chats. Be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe. For my channel, I might have something coming out pretty like midweek. That is a pretty big announcement. I'll talk to you guys when I talk to you guys. Just be on the lookout for that, because it's really about to go down. But
very big.
Know what it is, man. You know what it is. I'm Joe Castro. That's my guy James, and we are the best of enemies. Peace.
We're brothers, we're happy and we're singing and we're